everyone, welcome to Born to Cook with Christy. This is my first episode, and I figured I would start off well, make my husband's favorite meal. It's really pretty simple. It's a little intimidating because it's risotto, but if you can stir, you'll be fine. All the ingredients that I have, I just purchased at my local food mart, and we will have all the descriptions linked below so you know exactly what to get, but it's super duper easy. Nothing's hard to find. Excuse me. So we'll get started. I'm just going to go tie my hair up and clean my glasses. Alright, so for the risotto with steak, there are only a couple things that you need. I lied, it's not a couple. First, you need a steak. It doesn't have to be the best cut. You don't have to spend a lot of money. It's on how you prepare it and how you season it. So don't break the bank. A stick of butter will help with the steak and the risotto. A little bit of parsley in case you want to get fancy, I guess. Some chicken stock. And then you need a shallot over here. A box of risotto. Also, it's called Risotto Rice, but it's little fat rice grains. Some shredded Parmesan, which I don't have my grater, so the block of Parmesan that we just bought is useless. But luckily, I had the pre-shredded, even though it's a little nasty. Some olive oil, some pepper, some salt, and most importantly, a big old bottle of wine. And then something to tenderize your steak with, if you can. A little bit of a lemon and some asparagus. If you don't like asparagus, you could probably substitute it with something else, but I don't care to know you if you do. So, easy start. First thing is the meat. Again, the meat of your choice. Alright, so this is a London broil. Our tax refund has not been coming in yet, so we're going cheap. Just going to pat it dry a little bit, let it come to room temperature, so that the meat doesn't get really chewy and seize up and look gross, taste gross. So we're going to set that aside to warm up a little bit. Let me wash my hands. So the first thing that we're going to start with is the risotto, because it takes quite a while. And the steak you don't want to overcook, clearly. Unless you're me, I like it well done because the blood grosses me out. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to need 3 pans. Actually 2 pans and a pot. You need the pot for the stock and the asparagus. Then you need the pan for the risotto. I wouldn't go with anything too big. Not too small either, but like a medium size. That way the rice kind of all stays together and you don't have like the stray rice that's not getting any attention. And then a nice pan for the steak of your choice. First things first, we're going to move the asparagus out of the way. And then cut up our shallot. So I like to cut them in half so that I can see where the layers are. And kind of, that one's disgusting. Alright. It makes the skin come off a little bit easier. You don't really need a lot of shallot. A half of a nice size one is just fine. It's not a very strong onion. It's not a very strong flavor. But like with anything, if you put too much in, it's going to taste like pure onion, and that's kind of gross. So just cut it up finely, like that. And then you're going to get a stick of butter and about a tablespoon, unless you're me and you like a little more, and you're going to put it in your saute pan. And let that start to melt. While that's melting, you'll get the onion in. the skin. And then just a little bit of salt. I use this little flaked salt. I don't know if you can see it. Just because I like the texture of it. A little bit just to help the onions sweat down. So while that's doing that, move that out of the way. I am going to get the asparagus, which I've already rinsed. And unfortunately, this asparagus came already trimmed. But I don't trust people, so I'm going to cut it again. And get rid of it. Alright, and then usually it takes me about a box of stock of the regular, nothing really particularly special about it, stock. And then I'm going to pour this into our little saucepan. So you get that girl in there and put it on low. Another key point, wooden spoon with some onion skin. One, I use non-stick pans, so I don't want to scrape anything up. And two, it helps with the risotto for whatever reason, I'm not sure. But is that a little toss? Get that going. The stock is warming up. We're going to add the asparagus to it. And then in the meantime, we are going to season up our steak. So this is a meat tenderizer I bought at the dollar store quite a few years ago. You can see it's got pretty sharp little edges on it. It'll help tenderize your meat. So I like to just get in there because the London broil is a tougher meat. My husband will think that I bought something decent. Or he's going to think I'm hiding money somewhere and buying good food. Alright. So again, flip that over. And then we want to wash our hands again. Because we just touch meat and that's nasty. Turn it down. So the onions are starting to really soften rather quickly because I cut them so small. Alright, so we're just going to add, I'll show you this, a little bit, woo, that was a lot of salt. Like that. Okay, and then I will do some crushed pepper on it. Alright. So, that'll wait. And then we can come over and I'll show you, again, the risotto is going to go into this lovely little pan. It's vacuum sealed, so be careful. It's a good sound. Alright, so I'll take you over here and I will show you how to add the risotto. Okay, so this is the risotto. I'm going to add about a cup, maybe a little bit more, to the pan with the butter and the shallot. Unfortunately, my shallot just overcooked a little bit because someone was messing with the camera. But you want to stir this around. I don't know if you can tell, but the butter is clinging to the risotto and making it kind of glistening, and that's exactly what you want. So I have that going. While that is kind of toasting up a little bit, I'm going to put the asparagus into the broth and let that kind of come up to a heat. When you start to smell it, you know it's done. And then if you're anything like me, you eat the asparagus while it's still in there. And I also have this pan on under fire so that it's getting nice and warm for the steak. So Here's the best part of the risotto. Once it's kind of toasted up a little bit, and maybe your onion, your scallion isn't as cooked as mine, you're going to treat it like a friend, and you're going to get her drunk. About a half a bottle. I usually start off with the white wine, that way the alcohol can cook out, but you still get all the flavor. And if you can see, I really did drown the rice because I'm lazy and I don't want to have to keep going ladle by ladle, but it's just as effective. Give it a nice stir. And you'll see that the rice will slowly start to plump up a little bit more, and through time will soften. Now the steak, the pan is nice and warm. Steak, I'm just going to throw a little oil on it. So, you know it's been tenderized. We've have the salt and pepper on it. And now we are going to put it in face down, trying not to grab a paper towel as well, because that would be disgusting. That's a good sound. So I'm going to leave it on for about 5 to 6 minutes on each side, just because I want it to have a nice crust, but I don't want it well done because it's not for me. But sometimes when I make it and it is a little too pink for me, I just throw it back on, like my serving back on, and get it well done. So it's on medium to high. And the rice is on low, but I'm going to go a little bit higher because I'm impatient. So if you can see, the rice has really absorbed all of the chicken broth and the wine. So when it gets to about this texture where you still see the fluid running around it, or the liquid. Fluid sounds kind of gross. This is where I know it's coming to the end. I already took a little bite. You want to make sure that the rice is tender. It's fabulous. So we're going to add a little bit, while at this stage, of Parmesan cheese. And let that melt. You don't want to add too much because then it becomes gluey. Just a little bit. Just get in there with your fingertips and put some in. Alright. And then another trick, if you want to call it that, is just to add a little bit of butter. You can see I don't have much in there, but I'm not even going to use that. Just a little squirt. Keeps everything a little bit loose. And now we're going to plate everything up. Okay. So the steak has rested for a little bit, which just means it's not as hot, and therefore the juices of it won't purge right on out of the steak. Alright. So ignore my fingers. Alright, so there's that steak. Now, I thought for the longest time this was some BS, that you should cut against the grain of the steak and then it makes it more tender. But it's true. I really thought it was a lie. Like, why would the way I cut it make a difference? But it does. And again, this isn't the most expensive tender steak that you can get, so we're going to take every possible advantage of that. In the meantime, while everything was cooking and I got overly hot, I chopped up some parsley. That's just for show. So we're going to look at the grain of the steak, and you can see it's kind of going this way. So going against it would be more that way, I guess. All right. So I'm going to give it some nice slices. Again, make sure your hands are clean before you touch anyone else's food. And then we can fan it out a little bit. The risotto is done. It's nice and tender. This is definitely a meal that you're going to want to make and serve right away. You don't want to make it and then kind of sit back and wait for whomever to get home, because a skin will form and that's kind of nasty. So I'm going to put the risotto there, and then a couple of lovely slices of steak on top of it. And then, in my opinion, the best part, some asparagus. It's still a little warm. Sprinkle with a little bit of parsley. And then, if you feel like being really fat like me, you're going to put just a little bit of butter right down the center. Okay, so this is the end product. Easy peasy, really. It's just standing and stirring. We have the steak, the risotto, and some asparagus spears. And a fork that falls off. So I hope you enjoy it. Give it a try. Again, it's not as difficult as you want, and you can definitely flex with the meat if you want to do shrimps instead of steak if you don't eat red meat. But I really wouldn't substitute the asparagus for anything else. Just don't make it. There we go. So that's all it. If you like this video, please make sure you hit the like icon or subscribe. And next we'll be making chicken fried diavolo in the crock pot.